So this is not the video I set out to make. Keep watching to find out why I want to talk to you about LED headlight bulbs for your car. Hi all, Andy here and welcome back to the channel. Headlight bulbs. A question I get asked very frequently is, what are the best bulbs for the Audi TT Mark 1? Now we know the standard headlights that come on these cars are going to be 20 years old, and let's face it, they weren't the greatest lights originally. Today they really are quite poor in the dark, so we need to maximise the bulb efficiency to make sure we're getting the most light output from our cars. Now there's a whole range of bulbs on the market today, and this car takes Xenons, so replacement Xenon bulbs are quite expensive. How do you know if your car takes Xenons or halogens? Well, it's quite easy to tell, because if your car takes Xenons also, it will have this silver ballast on the side of the headlight housing, or it will have a ballast situated here inside the car. If there's no ballast, there will be no Xenons, it will be halogen only. However, I've been sent a set of bulbs from AUXITO, and these bulbs claim to be much brighter than the originals. They are LED bulbs, so I'm going to be trying this for the first time in the car. There is a slightly different lighting pattern, I understand, with these bulbs over original Xenons. I'm going to show you how you change headlight bulbs on the Audi TT Mark 1, but I'm also going to undertake two important tests. One, I'm going to check the actual light output from the lights using a Lightmeter app that comes on the iPhone. I'm also going to take the car out on a test drive, and then we're going to be able to compare the original bulb's headlight output and what I can see in the dark against what it looks like once I've fitted these LED bulbs. Now, a set of these bulbs will set you back around £50, which sounds a lot of money, but remember you're getting two bulbs for this, so £25 each. And if they make the difference that they claim, then I think that's a good investment. LED bulbs also claim to last up to 10 times longer than a standard bulb. If your standard bulb lasts 2 years and this lasts 20, which I very much doubt, it's likely to outlast the length of your Audi TT Mark 1. So I don't think that's too much of a consideration. Feedback I've seen online is the LED bulbs last about the same time as a traditional bulb, so the claims made by most of the LED bulb manufacturers tends to be unfounded. So the first thing we're going to do is get a light meter, get a reading of the headlight output from the car in the garage in the dark. We'll use that as the control. We'll then take the car for a spin and get an idea using the GoPro of what we can see on the road at night. Once we've done that, I'll bring the car back, we'll change the bulbs and I'll show you how to do so. We'll take another light reading and we'll also do a comparison drive to see how much more of the countryside we can see at night. Hopefully it's more, but we'll wait and see. So let's get on with doing that light test on the original headlights. For those of you that have seen my headlight restoration video, you will know I used a light meter to get an exact reading off the headlights before and after I restored them on the silver Audi. So we're going to use the same app, and if you can see that picture right there, the app itself is called Lightmeter. Opens up just like that, and the principle being you've got a counter there that's measuring the, I think the lux they class as the output from the light. And if I take a light reading just in here now, and I keep my finger on it and I point it up there at the light and keep pressing the button, you can see that number changes by the amount of light that the phone is picking up using the camera sensor on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the headlight on with the ignition on as well, so it's getting the full headlight beam, and I'm going to take lots of readings from around the light and see where we get the maximum output on the standard bulb before we take this car for a drive. So let's turn those headlights on, but also turn the garage lights out to minimise the amount of light pollution or impact that the garage lights may have on the test. So I'm going to once again take some readings. The results are in, and we've managed to get 11,682 on the standard headlights on full beam. So I wonder if that will be any brighter with our new LED bulbs. Now, what's really handy for this test is I live in the darkest part of the world. It feels like there's no street lights on any of my roads, so we should get a good vision of what we can see in the countryside during nighttime driving. Now, I haven't got my full beam on just yet, so I've just got my standard lights on, and what we'll do is we'll go one way with the full beam off, and on the way back we'll have the full beam on to see what else we can see. I would say the headlights probably light up somewhere between 20 and 30 meters in front of the car without the full beam. On the way back we'll put the full beam on, and now you can see that yellow glow from the lights as we go back. I don't think the GoPro really represents how far I can see down the road. I can see further than the image that's being portrayed on the GoPro. We'll just drive past my house, keep on going so we can pick up some other features along the roadside. This is a 50 along here, and I'm doing 45 miles an hour to try and keep an even pace when we compare the two videos. I thought I would give you a quick look at the contents of what's in this AUXITO headlight bulb pack. Now, these AUXITO bulbs are a D2S and a D2R fitting LED bulb, and inside the box you get the following: a set of instructions on how to fit them, which is always useful, but due to the nature of the bulbs and not touching the glass of the bulb to prevent you getting grease on the bulb which can cause the bulb to fail, they supply you with this handy pair of white gloves. So before I fit the bulb, I will put these gloves on. But for handling the bulb, I'm actually going to put one on now, and you'll see the bulbs are in this polystyrene foam holder, and there is your replacement Audi TT Mark 1 bulb for a Xenon headlight. Now, the difference between this bulb and the bulbs that come with the car is this fitting here is normally all part of the bulb on the back of the bulb. So instead you have the fitment on a short wire. So there is a bit of so you will need to poke this wire back inside the car like so to make this fit behind the cover, and we'll show you that shortly. But there's your bulb. As you can see, it's an LED bulb with a element on either side, and if you look really close, I don't know if that will pick up on the camera, there is about 10 tiny little LED elements on each side of that, but we'll put that back in the box for now until we are ready to fit it. Now, fitting the headlight on the car is very difficult to film because it's very hard to gain access to show you the components we need to get to. So I thought I would do the fitting of the headlight bulb off the car on this headlight I've got here, so you can see what I'm actually doing. If we spin it around, so this is the business side of the light for fitting the rear of the light, and you need to remove this plastic cover. And the way you do that is you would work from above the car, push this metal clip to the side, lift and push to disconnect like so, and that pin, as you can see, has released this cover. And then all you need to do is open it up like a door, and it's hinged on the outside of these two plastic clips. Now, if you are removing this from your car and you're removing both of them at the same time, it's worth pointing out that these hinges, the top hinge is smaller than the bottom hinge, and that way you won't get the left and right the wrong way around. So always remember, as you replace this, the smaller hinge at the top, bigger hinge at the bottom. And the bulb in question here is this one
with this danger sign at the back of it. Now obviously I haven't got the gloves on for this because this is an old light and an old headlight, but you probably want to wear the gloves for this. And the way to remove this is to get hold of the bulb either side and turn it anti-clockwise, and that will release this plug from the bulb. Now when we refit the new bulbs, you'll remember that the bulb has got a wire with a plug on the end of it, and it's got a male end, and this is the female end that's attached to the car headlight. And what we need to do is put this plug inside the headlight along with the wire from the new bulb, so we can get it far enough in when we close the cover, because otherwise it would be sticking out too far. To remove the bulb, you need to first loosen anti-clockwise this plastic retaining ring by turning it anti-clockwise, which will then release the bulb. And you can remove the bulb and the plastic retaining clip all in one, like so. If I get hold of that, I can retain the clip. So there is our bulb removed along with the retaining ring. So I can gently remove that bulb now from the retaining ring, like so. And probably worth pointing out that when you are fitting a bulb into this light, the bulb ring has a small pattern set into it with two little notches at the top, and there are two little notches just up here at the top of the light that these should line up with when you are refitting a normal bulb, and it should then just all sit flush with the housing around the outside. With my new gloves and bulb ready to go, I can now fit this into this socket.
So here's our two AUXITO bulbs in the box. So if we remove one from the polystyrene to take a closer look, we can see it has the D2S connector, the electrical connector which connects to the headlight, and the bulb itself comprised of two parts. It has a collar which we use to align on the headlight, and the bulb itself. Now the bulb itself has this fin design because it has a fan inside, but we can slide the collar off the bulb and put the bulb to one side, and that allows us to look at the collar a bit closer and see the elements that would allow it to fix in position inside the headlight. So there we have the bulb with the fan inside it, and also the collar that locks it in position. Here we have the plastic locking ring that goes over the collar once in position, which we need to turn clockwise once in position to lock the collar in place. Once the collar is locked firmly in place, we take the bulb and slide it through, ensuring the element is vertical. We can check that with this cross on the back to make sure it's dead square. And the wire for the D2S connection should come out of the bulb immediately at the bottom, facing downwards, to ensure that the element of the light is aligned correctly.
So fitting the bulb with the collar and the plastic retaining ring as one is virtually impossible. So the way you would do it is thus: take your collar and line it up so that that large hole, the large square hole, is at the top, like so. Then take your retaining ring, place it over the top, holding the collar in place, and now with the three holes around the collar aligned with the holes on the fitting, you can now turn this clockwise and lock that into position. Now the new bulb has these two rubber O-rings, and what that allows us to do is push the bulb home inside the collars, cause a nice strong watertight seal. And that is the best way to assemble the bulb. Fitting the bulb, as I've mentioned, you've got the male end from the bulb and the female connector from the car, and that is just a case of simply putting the connectors together, lining up the side pins like so, and turning it clockwise. And that is now all attached, and I'm going to store that just inside the housing like so. And now all I need to do is take the cover and fit it in reverse, as I've mentioned, and then secure it with this metal fastener like so. And that is the new bulb inside a headlight.
So we got to the point of installing these great looking LED bulbs into the car, and unfortunately the results were not what I expected. I've gone to turn the ignition on with the headlight bulbs installed, and the lights do this. The light comes on briefly but it goes straight off, but my normal headlights do not. So they come on very briefly and then go straight off again. Now I'm in a very privileged position to own two Audi TT Mark 1s, so I was able to try the headlights in the Roadster as well. Both cars do have the Xenon headlights fitted by default, so I figured I'd try it in that car just to verify it's not a problem with the Papaya. Lo and behold, it's the same result. So that's telling me these particular bulbs do not want to work with the Audi TT Mark 1. But the bulb does come on for a very brief period, a split second, and then extinguishes. So why could this be? If we take a closer look once again at the Audi TT Mark 1 headlight, we can see it has this silver or metal box bolted to the side for a Xenon headlight. Now, Xenons require what's called a ballast to regulate the voltage or wattage getting to the bulb for the amount of power to affect the brightness of the bulb. These particular ballasts that come on the Audi TT Mark 1 are rated at 35 watts. So they're providing 35 watts per light to your Xenon bulb. However, these LED bulbs are rated at 60 watts each because the box says 120 watts, so I guess that's covering both bulbs. So what I think's happening is these bulbs on igniting and turning on of the ignition with the headlights are trying to draw too much power, and they have that initial blast of light and then it gets extinguished because it can't continue to supply that amount of wattage. So the light comes on and then goes straight off. Now, that is not particularly good for what we want. So there could be a solution that what we need to add is a CAN bus resistor into the mix. And what that would do is that would sit between the D2S plug right here and the ballast of the light. And what that's going to do is limit the amount of draw these bulbs make on your ballast. By not putting such a large draw, hopefully it will stay ignited. I have tried to find a plug and play version of this D2S connector for the bulbs, so I don't need to cut and splice any wires, because as you know, I'm not going to take that risk with the car and modify it in any way. If you look at these resistors that you add to this, they do get extremely hot, and if you read up about them, you need to mount them somewhere on the bodywork that's not going to cause a fire or melt any components, so it needs to sit on a metal surface. Again, that's not something I'm prepared to take a risk of to hold that resistance, because if you think about the term resistance, that's what it's doing. It's holding back some of that power demand, which again is going to cause that resistor to get very hot. The heatsink will therefore generate an awful lot of heat. So that's something you need to consider if you're going to be fitting LED bulbs, aftermarket bulbs, to your headlights on the Audi TT Mark 1. You need to ensure that the bulbs themselves are either rated low enough on the draw that they will be able to stay ignited by the 35 watt ballasts on the car, or you're going to need to buy higher wattage bulbs such as these AUXITO bulbs, but be prepared to fit some aftermarket resistors, CAN bus resistors, into the mix to ensure the bulbs stay lit. Now, that wasn't the outcome I was expecting or wanting. I'm only saying this from my own personal findings and from reviews I've seen on Facebook of people asking what bulbs they should fit to their cars to increase the brightness. A few people are mentioning about this particular bulb that they've tried to plug them in and have the same results as me. However, there is a YouTuber called The Never Ending Project, and Seb from that channel has done a video on these exact bulbs. So I reached out to Seb and I asked him how he managed to fit these without any modifications, and he said they just work. He hasn't made any modifications and the bulbs stay lit. And he even knows someone else that's fitted these bulbs and also has no problem. If you've not checked out Seb's channel, then I highly recommend you do so. And I will leave a link to his channel in this video description. And it also includes several videos on the Audi TT Mark 1. I want to thank Seb personally for his comments on Instagram and our conversation on what this problem could be. So thanks once again, Seb. So there are my experiences of trying to fit these LED headlight bulbs to an Audi TT Mark 1. And I'm sure if you did buy yourself those CAN bus resistors, you too could get these AUXITO bulbs to work. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please do give it a thumbs up, and also think about subscribing to my channel if you've not already done so, where you'll find a whole host of content on the Audi TT Mark 1. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care.